Welcome. In this segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about intention, specifically intention on our spiritual path as we explore spiritual growth or meditation or healing. So, talking about our intention as you explore perhaps territory that's new for you, going into new experiences, new things you'd like to try for yourself, whether those be through my offerings or through your broader explorations. I think it's important to talk about intention. Sometimes we take intention for granted, right? If we want to find a smoothie or a yoga class, it really starts with an intention. I want a healthy smoothie, or I want a yoga class, it's a hard workout, or a gentle relaxing class. And then we Google it and see what we can find, right? But it really starts with that intention. And it's a little easier if we know we just want a smoothie or a yoga class. It's a little easier to know exactly what we're looking for. But when we're talking about spiritual growth, spiritual awakening, I certainly can't tell you exactly what that is and wouldn't pretend to. So as well as sharing some of my own experiences about intention and exploring the spiritual path, I'd also like to share with you the wisdom of some other teachers and people. And so I hope my intention with this sharing is that it's both inspiring and perhaps instructional in some way about maybe how to pursue your path, to pursue new territory in spirituality or healing, and to think about what your intention is. So one story I'd like to share from my own experience was when I first felt guided to travel and teach workshops on the road. I had already been teaching them in the Boston area when I lived there, and I felt confident and competent in doing that because I had a lot of experience. But I thought, traveling on the road, well, that could be a bad idea. You know, what if I'm going to places where nobody knows me? What if no one shows up and I'm just driving around paying for gas in hotels? But I felt that I was guided to do this. I kept getting signs, so I had to surrender. I sent energy to it and asked for guidance, but I also had to do the groundwork, right? So that was my intention. I want to go out and find the people that would like to have and experience what I have to offer and share. But then I had to do the groundwork. I had to pick up the phone and make phone calls, cold calls, which I was very uncomfortable with at first, thinking, oh, they're going to think that I'm a pushy salesperson. But I got clear with myself. I'm not a pushy salesperson. I'm simply letting them know what I have to offer, and they can let me know if they're interested or not. And lo and behold, some people were very happy at yoga studios or churches or healing centers that I was coming through their area and perhaps had something to offer. And so it was interesting. My intention also fulfilled some other people's intentions of, geez, I'd like to have some more things at my yoga studio or my healing center. So our intentions kind of met on a plane that neither one of us could see, in a sense. But by following those intentions, there were some wonderful things that happened, in some ways different than I had imagined. So it's interesting, we have an intention, but also to have a little bit of surrender, I think, is a good idea when we're dealing with the spiritual realm, and ask for guidance as we go along and to be open. I'd also like to share with you a story about having an intention for healing, but surrendering to exactly what that looks like and not trying to force it. From one of my teachers, Laurel Gaia. I am sitting in the workshop room at the center that she founded with her partner, Michael, Peace Place in Sedona, where I am now grateful to offer massage and energy healing sessions. And Laurel passed last year. But every day that I'm here, I think of her with gratitude, knowing I wouldn't be able to be in this beautiful place and offering sessions or doing this recording if it hadn't been for the efforts of her and her partner, Michael, who brought this vision into reality by following their intention. But the story I want to tell you about that, it was a story Laurel tells about when we're doing a healing session for someone to not try to force it, to have some surrender. So she was doing Reiki, as she tells the story, with a client who had cancer, and this woman did not want to lose her hair with the chemo. And as Laurel tells the story, she said, well, I don't think we should put limits on Reiki or what's going to happen. And I thought, gosh, Laurel, the poor woman just doesn't want to lose her hair. But as it turns out, the woman did lose her hair. And the person who helped fit her for her wig after she lost her hair recommended a hospital that specialized in her type of cancer and encouraged her to continue receiving Reiki. So if she hadn't lost her hair, she wouldn't have ended up with the best care. So I think that's a wonderful story to know that we have an intention for healing or awakening, but to have some humility and some surrender and not try to control it all with our mind. So I'd like to share some readings from Paramahansa Yogananda. Perhaps you've heard of him. He was a teacher that came from the East and established centers in the United States and all over the world. He passed many years ago, but his teachings live on through his centers and his writings. So this is from a book of sayings of his. So other people were recording what he said. And I feel like I need to say a few things before I read from these selections. He talks about God, and let's be very clear, he's not talking about an angry man on a cloud who's out to get you. And it's very beautiful that he talks about God in a way that is supportive and not judgmental. Yes, he does believe in karma, and things might not go too well if we mess up, but he's not talking about a God who, damns us forever. It's God who seeks us when we seek him. And even when he says him, he doesn't mean a man or a guy, okay? These words can be very loaded. Let's face it, a lot of us have had religious damage or religious abuse even. So if that's the case for you, I am sorry. I understand that, even though I may not understand your exact experience. But please understand, when the word God comes up, you could replace it with spirit in your mind. But just know he's talking about a loving, all-pervasive presence, not not a guy who only likes people of particular religion. So with that preface, and he talks about sin, but he doesn't mean that, it's a sinner. And actually, it's beautiful, the things he shares about that. So let me share some quotes, the things he said that I hope you find inspiring when we're talking about intention and inspiration, opening up to spiritual experiences. So one of his students said, "I am too deeply enmeshed in mistakes to make any spiritual progress. My bad habits are so strong that I am worn out by my efforts to fight them." "Shall you be better able to fight them tomorrow than today?" the master asked. "Why add today's mistakes to yesterday's? If you keep on trying, you will improve. A saint is a sinner who never gave up." Another one, "Sir, I do not seem to be progressing in my meditations. I see and hear nothing," a student said. The master replied, "Seek God for his own sake. The highest perception is to feel him as bliss, welling up from your infinite depths. Don't yearn for visions, spiritual phenomena, or thrilling experiences. The path to the divine is not a circus." And I have been blessed with some really cool spiritual experiences, and I've loved them, and I've learned not to be attached to them. But boy, they're inspiring when they happen. But the reminder is that's not the point. And I feel I've been blessed to have those experiences. Now I need to let them deepen my practice and not just, grab at more of them. Another disciple who felt that he had failed in a difficult spiritual test was reviling himself. The master said, "Do not think of yourself as a sinner. To do so is a desecration of the divine image within you." Isn't that beautiful? To think of yourself as a sinner is a desecration of the divine image within you. Why identify with yourself as your weakness? Affirm instead this truth: I am a child of God. How beautiful and encouraging is that? Here's another one. After a talk with an egotistical visitor, the master replied, "The rains of God's mercy cannot gather on mountaintops of pride, but flow easily into valleys of humbleness." Isn't that amazing? I'm going to read that again. That is so beautiful. The rains of God's mercy cannot gather on mountaintops of pride, but flow easily into valleys of humbleness. So, yes, we may know a lot about this, that, or the other thing. We all have areas of knowledge and expertise, but it's a reminder that some humility can be very helpful in how can we learn something new if we're not open to it, basically, right? I remember when I first went to try a Reiki session, I thought, well, what the heck, I'll try that. Wow, I found it to be very powerful. You know, I didn't believe it was going to work or decide it wouldn't. I thought, well, I'll give it a try. So just simply being open. Another student was dubious about his power of spiritual perseverance. To encourage him, Paramahansa said, "The Lord is not distant, but near. I see him everywhere." "But sir, you are a master," the man protested. "All souls are equal," the guru replied. "The only difference between you and me is that I made the effort. I showed God that I love him, and he came to me. Love is the magnet from which God cannot escape." Wow, I'm getting chills on that one. Is that not beautiful? Love is the magnet from which God cannot escape. So in other words, you get what that means, but right, isn't that a beautiful sentiment coming from a spiritual teacher that if we have a spiritual yearning, then the spiritual world, the spiritual beings, God, Great Spirit, actually responds to that. Wow, how beautiful is that? "Doesn't the Lord shower his grace more abundantly on certain men than others?" a student inquired. Paramahansaji answered, "God chooses those who choose him." So we come back to intention, right? If we have an intention to open up spiritually, then it can be supported. And this is a beautiful one. "Most men are interested in miracles and wish to see them. But my master," so this is Paramahansaji who's talking, his teacher, my master Sri Yukteswar, who had control over all natural forces, held very stern views on the subject. Just before I left India to lecture in America, he said to me, "Arouse in men the love of God. Don't draw them to you by your displays of unusual powers." So even if those powers were available, that's not the point, right? What's the intention here? Spiritual growth, not just phenomenon. "Isn't the wisdom of saints due to their receiving the Lord's special favor?" a visitor inquired. "No," the master said. "That some persons have less divine realization than others is not because God limits the flow of his grace, but because most men prevent his ever-present light from passing freely through them. By removing the dark screen of egotism, all his children may equally reflect his rays of omniscience." Gazing one Sunday morning at the masses of blossoms that decorated the temple, the master said, "Because God is beauty, he created loveliness in the flowers that they might speak of him. More than anything else in nature, they hint at his presence. His shining face peeks out of the windows of lilies and forget-me-nots. In the fragrance of the rose, he seems to say, 'Seek me.' That is his mode of speech. Otherwise, he is silent. He shows his handiwork in the beauty of creation, but doesn't reveal that he himself is hidden there." And I have one more I want to share. "It's beautiful to think that the Lord loves all of us equally," a visitor said, "but it seems unjust that he should care as much for a sinner as for a saint." "Is a diamond less valuable because it is covered with mud?" the master answered. God sees the changeless beauty of our souls. He knows we are not our mistakes. So I hope you find those as inspiring as I do. A quote from Jesus. Now, again, I feel Jesus is spiritual master, very separate from the religions that came after him, and some have done wonderful things, some have not. So, again, this is not promoting a religion. I'm sharing a quote that's attributed to Jesus, who I see as a spiritual master, having nothing to do with the religious creations of men. Many of you have probably heard this one. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. So that quote is attributed to the teacher Jesus, saying that if we have a sincere desire in our heart, it will be shown. I'd like to leave you with one more from a contemporary man, Richard Carlson, who was an author and a motivational speaker and a psychotherapist, and he has also passed away. But he reminds us the shortest distance between 2 points is an intention. Isn't that powerful? So when we have a strong intention that's spiritually guided or directed, that comes from a loving place, we might even, sometimes the physical laws of space and time might even bend a bit. The shortest distance might not always be a line, right? I love that. The shortest distance between 2 points is an intention. So as you go forward on your path of awakening and exploring, I hope these are words of encouragement that as you seek, you shall find. Even if it doesn't always look the way that you expect it to. So I send you many blessings, and I hope you find this encouraging and inspirational on your path wherever you may be. Thank you. Namaste.